We're going to jump back into the second book of Genesis, and today we are in chapter 24, and we're going to be going over Genesis 24b. Okay. Yeah, I made an oops. So we're going to correct that this week, all right? So last week we went over Genesis 24:15, right? And it reads, it says, "And it came to pass before he had done speaking that, behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder." Okay, and we talked about how this passage has significance for us now today. You know, and for those who are visiting, we're going through the book of Genesis, but we're not going through it in the sense of just reading a book, i.e. the historical account. We're going through it from a spiritual perspective so that we can see how it applies to our lives now today. Amen? Amen. And, you know, I'll have you know that the Word is just like our Messiah, who was the Word. You know, it speaks on three different levels simultaneously. It speaks to that which was, to that which is, and to that which is to come. You know, hence he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Amen? Amen. All right. You know, so with that in mind, you know, we're going to take a look at the spiritual aspect that's being presented here. And just to give a little background to the story, you know, we previously determined that Abraham spoke to the house of Israel. You know, I'm not going to go back over that, but we do upload the lessons on YouTube, so you can go back and see how we came to that. You know, but Abraham spoke to the house of Israel. Sarah spoke to the renewed covenant, you know, which we get from Galatians chapter 4, okay? And so here it is. We have a beautiful picture of the house of Israel and the renewed covenant, amen? Now, it comes to a point when Abraham, i.e. the house of Israel, sends his servants over to his brother's house, over to his brother, to get a wife for his son, because he didn't want his son marrying someone in the lands in where they were, right? Okay, now, Rebecca, we spoke to her name, meaning clogged, or that is shackled or feathered, that. And Bethuel, speaking to destroyed of Elohim. And Milcah, being the queen, that is the wife of Nahor, her name means queen. And Nahor, names means snoring. You know, and so in the theme of things, we have Abraham, or the house of Israel, sending his servant, led by Yah's angel, to his brother's house. Now, who's the brother of the house of Israel? Even the house of Judah, right? Or the house of Yahudah, if you prefer. Okay, so now this is a spiritual picture of a messenger going to the house of Yahudah to get a bride for the promised seed. And the promised seed, of course, is Isaac, which was Abraham's son. It wasn't Ishmael. It wasn't Ishmael. You know, he wasn't the promised seed. Isaac was the promised seed. Okay? So, and along these lines, of Abraham is the house of Israel, then his brother is the house of Yahudah, which we already said. Now, Milcah is married to Nahor. Nahor means snoring. So Milcah, whose name means queen, is married to Nahor, to one that's snoring or sleeping. You know, and last week, you know, we equated the queen being married to King Yahushua, you know, and that King Yahushua was away right now, you know, but he's not sleeping, you know, he's actually interceding for us, and you know, and he's not the perfect fit. But who the perfect fit is for Nahor is Yah's election of grace. You know, Nahor means snoring or sleeping. So we see a picture of here of Milcah being married to one who is sleeping. And Yah's election of grace within the house of Yahudah speaks to Nahor and Milcah. That is the house of Judah that contains the queen and one that's snoring or sleeping. Now, when we look in Yeshayahu chapter 29, we see just who it is that Yah put to sleep. It says, "For Yahuwah hath poured out upon you the ruach of deep sleep, and hath closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, have he covered. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed." And he's speaking to the house of Yahudah. It goes on to say, "Which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he say, I cannot, for it is sealed. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. Wherefore the Adonai said, For as much as the people draw me with their draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but they have removed their heart far from me. And their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder, for the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid." And also, Yeshayahu, verses 23 through 24 of chapter 29 says, "But when he seeth his children, the work of mine hands," now it's talking about his children, it's talking about the one who has been blinded, children. Can you see that? "But when he seeth his children, the work of mine hands in the midst of him, they shall sanctify my name and sanctify the Holy One of Jacob, and shall fear the Elohim of Israel. They also that erred in Ruach shall come to understanding, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine." Okay, now I pray that you can see that, you know, his children is going to come back into favor and back in his good graces, into Yah's good graces. And that's important to understand because Rebecca is of his children. Amen? Okay, now also we see the same thing spoken to in Romans 11, 1 through 8. It says, well, let me have my first reader read Romans 11, 1 through 8, please.
"I say then, have Elohim cast away his people? Elohim forbid it. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Elohim have not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture said of Elias, how he maketh intercession to Elohim against Israel, saying, Adonai, they have killed thy prophets, and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what said the answer of Elohim unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men, who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, Elohim have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day.
Okay, so we see this was prophesied to happen, you know, that Nahor would in fact exist. Was prophesied that the house of Yahudah would go to sleep. You know, and this is just a picture of Nahor. Now, when we put these things together, you know, we're speaking to a time that was actually, after the renewed covenant had been given, after the renewed covenant had died and has been placed in the hearts of righteous men, you know, Abraham sends over to the house of Yahudah, his messenger, to obtain a bride for his son. Okay, now when you look at this thing historically, you see, you know, when the Messiah came, you know, he was the house of Yahudah did not accept him. Amen. You know, they were as Nahor. They were snoring. They were asleep. They had eyes, but they couldn't see. They had ears, but they couldn't hear because they were asleep. They were snoring. You know, now they was married to Milcah, who was a queen, but she was at one with him. You know, and they brought forth a child that would be destroyed of Elohim. You know, and in 66 through 70, you know, AD, the house of Yahudah rebelled against the Roman Empire, you know, and they came in and put a hard check down on them. And again, in 132 through 136 AD, the house of Yahudah rebelled, you know, and Rome came in and just totally annihilated them. Just totally annihilated them and fulfilled the prophecy that the Messiah said concerning all the great buildings that they had, even the temple, that one stone would not be left upon the other. Now, from that happening, you know, now it just so happens that they had a son. From that happening, Bethuel was born. There was the house of Yahudah that was destroyed of Elohim. You know, and so, you know, you had these that were sleeping, that were snoring, even during the ministry of Yahshua, you know, and they had gave birth to Bethuel, which is a group of people that would, the house of Yahudah that would be destroyed of Elohim, which happened in 132 to 136 AD. And then he would give birth to Rebekah, which speaks to one that would be shackled, that is, fettered. And this also happened for after 136 AD, when Rome annihilated the house of Yahudah. They then took many of the Yahudim captive and sold them off into slavery. You know, many fled into the different parts of the land, even into Africa. And later, many of them was also actually shackled and sold into slavery. You know, there is actually Rebekah being shown in the history of the house of Yahudah. You can see Nahor, those who were asleep. You can see the queen. You can see Bethuel, who was destroyed, and you can see Rebekah. You know, and Rebekah is to marry Yitzhak, the promised seed. You know, now we spoke of Yitzhak representing what? Anyone remember? I'm by myself here. Huh? Christianity. Because when the Messiah came, he came to where? He came to the house of Israel. He said, I come only for the lost sheep of Israel. Amen. Sarah represents the renewed covenant, right? You know, so Sarah and Abraham together as one represents those of the house of Israel that accepted the renewed covenant. Can you see that? And what they gave birth to was Christianity. And Christianity is what come out of the house of Israel that accepted Yahshua, you know, and his renewed covenant. Can you see that? You know, now, going forward, Genesis 24:16 says, and the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her, and she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. You know, and it's speaking of her going down to a well, and the well, scripturally speaking, represents the mouth of a righteous man, the fear of Yahuwah, the understanding of his word. Hence we see in Proverbs 10:11, the mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but violence cover up the mouth of the wicked. In Proverbs 14:27, the fear of Yahuwah is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. In Proverbs 16:22, understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that have it, but the instruction of fools is folly. So here it is, we see that the well speaks to the words to the righteous, the fear of Yahuwah, and the understanding of his word. Genesis 24:17 says, and the servant ran to meet her and said, let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. Now, Yochanan 7:38 says, gives us a little indication spiritually of what that water represents. It says, he that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this he spake of the Ruach, which they that believe on him should receive. For the Ruach Kadesh was not yet given, because Yahushua was not yet glorified. I think I just lost. Okay. All right. So, but that the water speaks to, ultimately, it speaks to counsel, and it's counsel concerning the fear and understanding of Yahuwah. And this is what's supposed to flow from our pitchers as well, because we're just simply pitchers. We're just simply vessels of clay, and we should be filled with water. Let me have my next reader read Genesis 24:18 through 22.
And she said, drink my Adonai. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. And she hasted and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again unto the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And the man, wondering at her, held his peace, to wit whether Yahuwah had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold.
Okay, so here it is. We see that Rebecca, she's passing the test, and take note that the test was that the woman who come and serve him as well as his camels, would be the one that would be the bride for his master, and so here it is, we see Rebecca, she's saying, drink my Adonai. She hasted and she let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink, and when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also until they have done drinking. Now, we mentioned last week, but some that wasn't here, a camel has like 3 stomachs, and each one can hold 5 gallons or more of water. And there was 10 camels. So Rebecca was putting in some work, okay? It wasn't just, she was just going to grab a pitcher and like, okay, they good, No, she was putting in a little work, Water's not real light either, at about 8 pounds per gallon, it can get kind of heavy, right? So I just wanted to point that out because, she deserved, her just due because she was putting in some work. And it says she hasted and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and she ran unto the well to draw water and drew for all his camels. And in return, it says that the man took a golden earring of a half a shekel weight and 2 bracelets for her hands and 10 shekels weight of gold. Now, this golden earring was actually a nose ring in all actuality. You know, and Proverbs 25:12 tells us, as an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold, so is a wise reprover upon an obedient ear. So now here it is again. You see the symbolism of her being her giving, pouring out wisdom. You know, and here is he's even blessing her with even more. For the earring represents her being a wise reprover upon an obedient ear. You know, and so this, you know, we want to have our nose rings in, spiritually speaking, right? Not physically speaking, but spiritually speaking. You know, we want to be wise reprovers upon obedient ears as well. Amen. You know, that is a gift. You know, verse 22 goes on to say, and it came to pass as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of a half a shekel weight and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight. Now, we're going to talk about the 2 bracelets for her hands and the spiritual significance. You know, let me have my next reader read 1 Corinthians 3:12 through 15.
Now if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. If any man's work abide which he hath built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. If any man's work shall be burnt, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire.
Hallelujah. So here it is. We see the hand speaks to works. So him giving her 2 bracelets, you know, speaks to her works. You know, even works of gold that will abide through the fire. You know, because every man's work shall be made manifest. You know, but it all will be tested by fire. And so, you know, her having the 2 bracelets speaks to, you know, her works will endure the fire. You know, so also, and this is spiritually speaking for those of us who make up Rebecca. You know, and for her hands it was 10 shekels weight of gold. 10 speaks to the law and responsibility, so speaks of her doing the works of Torah. You know, and being responsible. And then we have verse 23. You know, and said, whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor. You know, so in other words, spiritually speaking, she said, I am the daughter of those who were destroyed of Elohim, the son of the queen, whom she bare unto one that is now snoring or asleep. That is the house of Yahudah that was put to sleep until the Gentiles come in. You know, and verses 25 through 27. She said, moreover unto him, we have both strong provender and provender enough and room to lodge in. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahuwah. And he said, blessed be Yahuwah, Elohim of my master Abraham, who have not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, Yahuwah led me to the house of my master's brother. You know, hallelujah. And when the messenger does come, you know, to the true praisers of Yah, because that's what Yahudah means. It means to be a praiser of Yah. When the messenger does come to the true praisers of Yah, you know, they will be found while the messenger is in the way of Yahuwah. You know, there's a way of Yahuwah in which, you know, where we're supposed to be walking. That's where we're supposed to be. And if you're not in the way, you're not going to see the messenger, because he's going to be in the way. You know, and he's going to lead, Yah is going to lead him to the house of his master's brethren. Let me have my next reader read verses 28 through 32 of Genesis 24.
And the damsel ran and told them of her mother's house these things. And Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran out unto the man unto the well. And it came to pass, when he saw the earring and bracelets upon his sister's hand, And when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, Thus spake the man unto me, that he came unto the man. And behold, he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, Come in, thou blessed of Yahweh. Wherefore standest thou without? For I have prepared the house and room for the camels. And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the men's feet that were with him.
Okay, so here it is again. When the messenger come and come for a bride for the promised seed, Rebecca is going to adhere to him, and we see Laban, her brother, whose name means white, which speaks to righteousness. So we see them catering to the messenger. Now this was something that was real big, in historical times to begin with. Hospitality was held in very, very, very high regard, concerning travelers and strangers through the land, but it didn't hurt none that Laban saw the earrings and the bracelets upon his sister's hand either, right? And so when he heard the words of his sister, he ran out there to meet the guy. But here it is, we see a spiritual picture of the praisers of Yah, who were shackled as well as those who were righteous, helping the messenger that was sent. And here it is. Not only are they giving him water, now they're gonna shelter him, and they're gonna feed him as well. And verse 30 says, And it came to pass, when he saw the earring and the bracelets upon his sister's hand, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, Thus spake the man unto me, that he came unto the man, and behold, he stood by the camels at the well, and he told him to come on and follow him to the house, prepared a place for him, and he gave him water to wash his feet and the men's feet that were with him. Let me have my next reader read verses 32 through 38.
And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet and the men's feet that were with him. And there was set meat before him to eat. But he said, I will not eat until I have told my Edred. And he said, Speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant. And Yahuwah hath blessed my master greatly, and he is become great. And he hath given him flocks and herds and silver and gold and men servants and maid servants and camels and asses. And Sarah, my master's wife, bare a son to my master when she was old, and unto him hath he given all that he hath. And my master made me swear, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife to my son of my daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my father's house and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son.
Okay, so here we see that Sarah, that represents the renewed covenant, that her son, Yitzhak, have inherited all that belonged to his father Abraham, or the house of Israel, and that he was very rich. He was pretty wealthy, right? Seeing that Yitzhak represents Christianity, is Christianity pretty wealthy? Let me have my next reader read verses 39 through 43.
And I said unto my master, Peradventure the woman will not follow me. And he said unto me, Yahuwah, before whom I walk, will send his angel with thee, and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife for my son of my kindred, and of my father's house. Then shalt thou be clear from this my oath, when thou comest to my kindred. And if they give not thee one, thou shalt be clear from my oath. And I came this day unto the well, and said, O Yahuwah Elohim of my master Abraham, if now thou do prosper my way, which I go, behold, I stand by the well of water, and it shall come to pass that when the virgin cometh forth to draw water, and I say to her, give me, I pray thee, a little water of thy pitcher to drink.
Okay, so here it is. The messenger is Eleazar, most likely Yah's helper. You know, he's actually telling the story to her parents. And verses 44 through 49 goes on to say, and she say to me, both drink thou, and I will also draw for thy camels. Let the same be the woman whom Yahuwah have appointed out for my master's son. And behold, I had done speaking in my heart, and behold, Rebekah came forth with her pitcher on her shoulder, and she went down unto the well and drew water. And I said unto her, let me drink, I pray thee. And she made haste and let down her pitcher from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. I drank, and she made the camels drink also. And I asked her and said, whose daughter art thou? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bare unto him. And I put the earring upon her face and the bracelets upon her hands. And this word face is Af, number 639, meaning the nose. You know, and this is why I was saying it was a nose ring. Okay, verses 48 through 49. And I bowed down my head and worshiped Yahuwah and blessed Yahuwah Elohim of my master Abraham, which had led me into the right way to take my master's brother's daughter unto his son. And now if ye will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Let me know what it's going to be so I know what to do next. Let me have my next reader read verses 50 through 54.
Then Laban and Bethel answered and said, the thing proceedeth from Yahuwah. We cannot speak unto thee bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go, and let her be thy master's son's wife, as Yahuwah has spoken. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped Yahuwah, bowing himself to the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. And they did eat and drink, and he and the men that were with him, and tarried there all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, send me away unto my master.
Hallelujah. Okay, it's important that we take note of who didn't receive gifts as well as those who received the gifts. You know, he gave to Rebekah, i.e. the one who was shackled, and Laban, who was righteous, and Milcah, the queen. But take note who didn't get any gifts. He didn't give any to Nahor, who was asleep or snoring, and neither did he give any to Bethuel, that is, those who survived the destruction of Elohim. You know, that's not by coincidence. You know, that's not by coincidence that, you know, those two were left out. You know, because that's just scripture showing us, you know, that those who will receive gifts will be those that are of the queen, those that were shackled, those that are righteous. You know, so you put them together as to who received the gifts. You see, you know, the queen that was shackled, that was righteous, is the one who will receive the gifts. You know, but those who remain asleep and are going to be destroyed of Elohim, they won't receive any gifts. You know, and we know that it's speaking about a time after Yahshua had left. You know, so it's speaking about a time when the gifts will be given out once again, you know, even as they were given out during the time of the apostles in Yahshua, amen. You know, and then we see in verse 54, it says, and they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And here we have a picture of a feasting with gifts and celebration. You know, hospitality customs were a vital part of the culture of the ancient world. The people followed such customs as formal and even sacred codes of conduct. You know, they were very, very adamant about how they treated the strangers and those who would come through, the travelers. You know, they had codes of conduct. They would make sure that they had something to drink and feed them and give them water to wash their feet. You know, and it was a big to do. It's not like you had a lot of travelers, you know, to begin with. You know, but this is why you see stories. You know, one of their responsibilities was if someone came up under their roof, they were to protect them.
Right.
They were up under their protection. You know, and this is, you know, and they took it to extremes. You know, even as we see with Lot, you know, offering his virgin daughters rather than the strangers who had came into his house. You know, and we also see how the hospitality was when we seen the three come to Abraham. You know, and he hasted and sacrificed the fatted lamb and, you know, and everything, and, you know, and served them up and washed their feet. You know, so, you know, this was a big deal. You know, so when you get the stories in the scripture where they're not doing these things, you know, then, you know, you have to consider that was, you know, that was a point of hostility. They viewed that as a point of hostility, and even, you know, as you know, one viewed one even as almost an enemy. You know, and you see a picture of this with Yeshua with when he was at Simon the Pharisee's house. You know, and Yeshua checks him and tells him, you know, you haven't given me water to wash my feet or anything, you know, but you complaining about this woman who's washing my feet with her tears in her hair. You know, that was a big insult. Verse 55, Genesis 24, it says, and her brother and her mother said, let the damsel abide with us a few days, at least 10. After that, she shall go. Now, this really sticks out to me as an example of when Yahushua will come for his bride. But this is one of the things of the fall feast. You know, we have this 10-day spell. You know, those of you who are familiar with the fall feast and the things of the fall feast, you know, one of the things is the marriage of the lamb. The marriage supper of the lamb, and Yeshua coming back for his bride. You know, in Leviticus 23, 24 through 28, we read, it says, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation. And ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. And Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, also on the 10th day of the 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement to make an atonement for you before Yahuwah your Elohim. Now the time betwixt the time of Yom Teruah or the trumpets and atonement is referred to as the 10 days of awe. You know, and this is a time of deep introspection, you know, when everyone is trying to, you know, dot all their I's and cross all their T's, you know, and get everything right. You know, this is a time of teshuvah, a time of repentance, you know, and it's a very solemn time, you know, and you can even see this, you know, in this story. You know, they're asking for, you know, give us 10 days, you know, to get used to the idea of our loved one leaving. You know, so we see a picture of how it's going to be in the last days, you know, if you have eyes to see. Now, there's a parallel to this story within 1 Samuel 25, which is the story of David and Abigail, where you'll find the same allusion to the infamous 10 days of awe at the end, of which Nabal dies. And with this in mind, Nahor may even speak to the one that's asleep, may even speak to King of Babylon. you know, because it speaks to those last days right before Yahshua come back. And this is when the beast system is upon the earth and trying to make everyone take the mark and subject them to, you know, to their will, and, you know, and come up against the believers, so on and so forth. You know, so there's a lot of symbolism in here that speaks to the end times. Verses 56 through 60, my next reader, please.
And he said unto them, Hinder me not, seeing Yahuwah has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. And they said, We will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, Wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah their sister and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them.
Hallelujah. So we see Rebekah get sent off with their blessing, you know, and, you know, she voluntarily leaves, you know, and that's a big point too. You know, she's not forced, she voluntarily leaves, you know. And verses 61 and 62 says, And Rebekah arose and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels and followed the man, and the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And Yitzhak came from the way of the well of Lahairoi, for he dwelt in the south country. Now, we have the well of Lahairoi speaking to the well of the living one watching over me. Now, we already spoke to Yitzhak representing Christianity, right? You know, so here it is. We see a picture of Christianity at the well of the living one that's watching over him. Now, he dwelt in the south country. That is the land that's parched or in the drought. You know, so, you know, you can see, easily see a picture of the wilderness within this. You know, and so we see here in Genesis 16:14, it says, Wherefore the well was called Ber Lahairoi, because it is between Kadesh and Bered. And this is important to know, because, you know, he's coming from the way of the well of Lahairoi, and which is betwixt the sanctuary and Bered. Now, this is what he's doing before he meets his bride. You know, and this is important because this speaks of Yitzhak, or Christianity, coming from the well of the living one that's watching over him. That is Scripture. The well ultimately speaks to Scripture, you know, which teaches understanding, which teaches the fear of Yahuwah, and which teaches righteousness. Amen? Amen. You know, now, here it is. We have Christianity coming from the well of the living one, watching over him. That is Scripture, while living in the land that is parched and where the drought is, i.e. the wilderness. And the well's locale or location speak to Christianity being in a place betwixt the sanctuary or holiness and hell or judgment, which actually speaks to the church of Laodicea. You know, which is in a place betwixt being holy and being judged. You know, we're told, well, we were supposed to be told in Revelations, I don't know what happened to it, but the church of Laodicea, that she was neither hot nor cold. And Yah said, I'd rather you be hot or cold, but because you are lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth. You know, and they were the last church that he addressed as well. You know, so we see a picture, a spiritual picture of this church, you know, starting to leave from that place. You know, and of course, you know, in Revelation, it tells them to repent. You know, and so prayerfully, some of us that's in that place will repent. Amen. You know, and it says, and Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the evening tide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. Now, this word meditate is suah in the Hebrew number 7742, meaning to muse pensively. That is, sadly, pensive reflection. So, in other words, it's speaking of, you know, Christianity would be at a point where they would be reflecting, you know, on on their state of being. And they would be sad, and they would be, they wouldn't be happy with it. They would have pensive reflection concerning it. Kind of, melancholy, if you would, about it. And that's a lot. I hear a lot of people come through these doors who was just in such a place as that. They begin to look at Christianity, and they begin to consider it and meditate on it, and it didn't make them happy. What they were seeing and what they were experiencing and what they were a part of. Amen. Amen. Verses 64 through 67 says, and Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel, and for she had said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. And what's interesting is she took a veil and covered herself. So what is this telling us? It's telling us that when Christianity first meet its wife, it won't recognize her. It won't know how she looked. She's covered. There's a veil upon her. Now this is simply a picture of us in all actuality. That is a picture of Isaac, or Christianity, marrying Rebekah, which speaks to the house of Yahudah, that was once shackled, resulting in messianics. Which at least in my mind is a bit different than Jewish messianics. Because, when you have Jewish messianics, then the traditions of Judaism prevails over the union. But when you have messianics, then the teachings and instructions of the Messiah prevails over the Jewish customs and traditions. And so there is a difference in my mind. And we don't want the Christian customs and traditions any more than we want the Jewish customs and traditions. Amen. We want to do as Yeshua did and follow Scripture. That's the whole goal. All right, that's all I have for you today on that. But there's something